You know that feeling? You pour everything you have into an idea. Maybe it's a business, maybe a personal project, something you're really passionate about, even a financial goal. You put in the time, the effort, the money, and then crickets. It just doesn't land. That feeling of, all that wasted work. It's super frustrating. Well, today, our deep dive is all about tackling that. We're digging into The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. It's a book that really honestly shook up how people think about building businesses, but the ideas, they go way beyond just startups.
Absolutely. Rees zeroes in on this huge problem. Why do so many new things fail? Often it's because, well, people build something nobody actually wants. His whole approach is different. Think like a scientist, not just an artist.
Yeah.
Test your ideas, learn from what happens, adapt. It's about iterating.
Exactly. So, our mission today is to pull out the key insights from this book, The Real Gems. We want to help you stop guessing and start, well, growing smarter, applying these powerful strategies to whatever you're working on business, personal growth, finances, you name it. And hey, before we really get into it, if you're already finding this interesting or think you will, do us a quick favor. Hit that like button, maybe share this deep dive with someone who could use these ideas, and definitely subscribe so you don't miss what we cover next time. Okay. All right, let's get started. Think about the old way of doing things, the traditional approach. You'd spend months, maybe years, polishing an idea, getting every little detail just right, then the big launch, and basically just hope for the best. It's a huge gamble, isn't it?
Oh, totally. A massive gamble. The lean way. It flips that completely. Instead of building the whole thing perfectly up front, you start with what Rees calls a minimum viable product, an MVP. Now, this doesn't mean building something bad or incomplete. It means building the simplest version of your idea that actually delivers some core value. Why? To learn. That's the key. Rees says the MVP is not about building less, it's about learning more. It's a tool for learning.
That MVP idea is so powerful, and the classic example everyone brings up is Dropbox, right? How did they use this idea early on?
Yeah, Dropbox is perfect. People assume they built that whole complex file syncing system from day one. But no, what they actually launched first was just a video, a simple 90-second explainer video showing how it would work. It wasn't the product itself, it was a simulation.
Yeah.
And thousands of people signed up. That proved the demand was real before they wrote tons of complex code. So this brings up a really practical point for you listening. Before you dive deep into building, coding, launching, whatever it is, ask yourself, what's the absolute smallest thing I can make or do to test if people actually care? That's the MVP mindset. Applies to anything, really.
Okay, so you've got something out there, maybe small, but how do you know if it's actually, working? It's easy to get fooled by what Reese calls vanity metrics. Things like, oh, how many downloads you got, or website hits, or social media likes. They might look impressive, but they often hide the real story, don't they?
Exactly. Vanity metrics make you feel good, but they don't help you make decisions. That's where actionable metrics come in. These are the numbers that show cause and effect. They tell you it's really happening. For instance, instead of just counting total signups for your app, you'd track the activation rate. Like how many people who sign up actually take that first important step. Use that key feature. That tells you if your core idea is resonating, if it's providing actual value, not just attracting looky-loos.
That makes a lot more sense. It's about real engagement. And this ties into the core engine of the lean startup, doesn't it? The build, measure, learn feedback loop. Reese calls it the heartbeat. Can you walk us through that cycle?
Yeah, it's fundamental. It's this constant cycle. First, you build. You create that MVP, that small experiment. Then you measure. You look at how real people interact with it, collecting actual data, those actionable metrics we just talked about. And critically, you learn. You analyze the data. What worked, what didn't, which of our assumptions were wrong. And that learning feeds directly into your next decision. Do we pivot, make a significant, structured change in direction? Or do we persevere, keep going on the current path because the data looks promising? So the action step here for you is pretty clear. Define maybe just one key metric that shows real engagement or progress for whatever you're working on, something meaningful, and track that one thing relentlessly. It keeps you honest.
It's so easy, though, to fall into this trap. You fall in love with your own solution. You're convinced it's brilliant, so you build it, assuming people need it, without really checking. I've definitely done that myself. We all have, probably.
Oh yeah, it's human nature. We get attached to our ideas. That's why validated learning is such a crucial concept in the book. It's about rigorously testing your fundamental hypotheses with real-world evidence, with actual customer behavior. Rees puts it beautifully. A startup is a human institution designed to create a new product or service under conditions of extreme uncertainty. That extreme uncertainty part is key. Your job isn't just to build stuff, it's to learn your way through that uncertainty. and learn fast.
The Zappos origin story is another great example of this, right? Nick Swinmurn and the shoes.
Yes, brilliant example. He had this hypothesis. People would buy shoes online, but instead of building a giant warehouse and complex logistics system up front, which would have been hugely expensive and risky, he just took photos of shoes in local stores, put them on a basic website, and someone ordered.
Oh.
He physically went to the store, bought the shoes, and mailed them himself.
So he tested the absolute core, riskiest assumption first.
Exactly. Will people actually click buy on shoes online? He got real data, real paying customers, validating that core assumption before investing heavily in infrastructure. So the big question for you is, what's the single riskiest assumption baked into your current idea or goal? Don't test the easy stuff you already know. Figure out the biggest leap of faith and design the smallest possible experiment to test that.
Okay, let's pause here for a second and really think about this. If you're working on a business idea, maybe a personal goal, maybe even trying to build a new habit, ask yourself this. What's the smallest experiment I can run this week? Like, really small, to learn something real, something tangible. Drop your answer in the comments below. Seriously, we'd love to hear what kind of experiments you're thinking about. Right, so inevitably, every project, every startup hits a point where things aren't quite working as planned. You hit a wall, you've been doing your build, measure, learn loops, the data isn't looking great. Now what?
This is where that crucial decision comes in. Pivot or persevere. And a pivot, according to Ries, isn't just randomly changing things. He defines it as a structured course correction designed to test a new fundamental hypothesis. It's strategic. It's based on what you've learned. There are different kinds, too, like a zoom-in pivot focusing on just one feature that people actually love, or a customer segment pivot, realizing your product is a great fit, but for a totally different group of people than you first thought.
And Instagram is the poster child for the pivot, isn't it? It wasn't always just photos.
Not at all. It started as an app called Bourbon. It did location check-ins, planning features, points, and photo sharing. Kind of complicated. But the founders look at the data. What were people actually using? Overwhelmingly, it was just the photo sharing part.
So they made a bold move.
A classic zoom-in pivot. They cut everything else, all the other features, and focused solely on making photo sharing simple and beautiful, and boom, Instagram was born. The takeaway. Set real milestones for your project, tangible goals. If the data you're collecting shows you're consistently missing those milestones with your current approach, don't just keep pushing blindly. Seriously, consider if a structured pivot based on what you have learned is the smarter move. It's about adapting, not just enduring.
There's this myth out there that startups fail because they move too quickly. They burn out.
Right, but Ries argues that's usually not the real reason. The danger isn't speed itself. It's moving fast in the wrong direction. Burning resources on stuff that doesn't matter or that customers don't want. When you use these lean methods correctly, speed actually becomes your advantage. But it's speed focused on learning. Ries has this great quote, "Startup success is not a consequence of good genes or being in the right place at the right time. Success can be engineered." Think about that. You can engineer success by accelerating your learning cycle. Faster experiments, faster decisions, faster feedback loops. It all cuts down waste and gets you to what works sooner.
So the aim is to make that build, measure, learn loop turn over as fast as possible.
Exactly. Make it a rhythm, a weekly check, and even ask, what did we learn this past week? What experiment are we running next week based on that learning? Keep that momentum going.
Okay, next up is a term that might sound a bit, well, accounting-ish. Innovation accounting. When you're just starting out, you often don't have revenue or profit, the standard business metrics. So how on earth do you measure progress?
Yeah, that's the challenge Ries tackles here. If traditional financial metrics aren't useful yet, you need different ways to see if you're actually moving forward. Innovation accounting provides that framework. It uses metrics tailored to learning and validating the business model. Think about things like cohort analysis. Are groups of users who signed up this month behaving better, sticking around longer, using key features more than users who signed up last month? That shows improvement. Or looking at your retention curve. Are users staying engaged with your product for longer periods over time as you make changes? That's progress.
So it's about finding objective measures of learning and improvement even before the money starts rolling in. It keeps you grounded in reality.
Precisely. It prevents what Ries calls success theater, where you just focus on busy work that feels productive but doesn't actually validate anything important. The action step is to treat your experiments like a scientist would. Define what success looks like before you run the test. Set benchmarks. Then use the data, the innovation accounting metrics, to make decisions. Let the data guide you, not just your gut feeling or passion alone.
When you boil it all down, What's the single biggest idea Eric Ries wants people to take away?
I think it's this fundamental shift in understanding what a startup or really any new initiative actually is. It's not just a small version of a big company. It's a learning machine. Its primary purpose, its main job, is to learn what customers really want and are willing to pay for before you run out of resources, time, money, energy. He has that killer line. The only way to win is to learn faster than anyone else.
So you need to frame everything you do as an experiment. Your product isn't a finished masterpiece, it's a hypothesis. Your users aren't just consumers, they're data points helping you test that hypothesis.
Exactly. And that changes how you view setbacks. Failure isn't the end of the world. It's not defeat. It's feedback. It's incredibly valuable data telling you what not to do next. So the final action step, really the core mindset, is embrace that. Treat failure as feedback. Learn from it, adjust, and run the next experiment.
Now, some people might hear startup and think, okay, this is for tech companies in Silicon Valley or, just for tiny teams in a garage.
Yeah, that's a common misconception, but is definitely not the case.
Oh.
These principles are surprisingly universal. Huge established companies, think GE, Toyota, Intuit, they've all adopted lean principles internally to drive innovation. Why? Because the world moves fast for everyone now. Big companies need to be able to test new ideas, adapt to changing markets, and learn quickly too, or they risk becoming irrelevant. They need internal startups.
So it doesn't matter if you're a solo entrepreneur leading a big department or even just tackling a personal goal, the process works.
Absolutely. The final takeaway message here is, wherever you are, whatever you're building or trying to achieve, apply lean thinking. Test your assumptions. Learn from the results. Adapt your approach. And repeat that cycle.
Okay, wow, we covered a lot there. Let's do a super quick recap of those key takeaways from the Lean Startup. 1. Build an MVP, minimum viable product. Start small, focus on learning fast.
2. Measure what matters. Use actionable metrics, not just vanity metrics. Track real engagement.
3. Validate your assumptions. Don't guess. Test your biggest risks with real-world data.
4. Be prepared to pivot or persevere. Make strategic changes based on what you learn. Don't just push ahead blindly.
5. Speed is a strategy, but it's speed focused on learning. Shorten that build, measure, learn cycle.
6. Use innovation accounting. Find ways to measure real progress, even before you have traditional results like revenue.
7. Remember, a startup or any new venture is fundamentally a learning machine. The goal is growth through insight.
And yeah, remember that bonus point. This stuff works at any stage, any size. Big companies, small teams, personal projects. If there's one final thought to leave people with, it's that in today's world, the ability to learn and adapt quickly really is the ultimate advantage. Success isn't just about luck or being brilliant. It can be, as Reese says, engineered through a methodical process of testing, learning, and iterating.
So, thinking about everything we've discussed, what does this all mean for you personally? What's the one key lesson or idea from this deep dive that really resonated? Something you're excited to try applying to your own life, your work, your projects? Let us know down in the comments. We genuinely want to hear what clicked for you. And finally, if you found this deep dive valuable, if you got something useful out of it, please do hit that like button, subscribe to the channel so you catch our next deep dive into more powerful ideas like this. And maybe share this with family or friends who you think want to upgrade their lives by learning faster and growing smarter. Until next time, keep building your ideas like a scientist. Test, learn, adapt. Because success really isn't about luck. It's about learning faster than anyone else.